Yeah, boy, it's July 2nd, and it's episode 154, and this is the Fantasy Football Auctioneer podcast. The Fantasy Football Auctioneer podcast is the official podcast of the fantasyfootballauction.com, the internet's only website dedicated to fantasy football auctions. If you want to follow us on Fitter, follow us on Fitter. Follow us on Twitter. It's at Fantasy Auction. We're going to break down the NFC West today. We've got Slim and Blister both here. And we're going to run through the NFC West real quick because, as Slim says, they're garbage. So let's start with Slim anyways. Slim, how's it going tonight?
It's going good. Just remember to unmute my mic. Thanks.
There you go.
Not looking forward to talking about the NFC West. No, Niners fan, they're trash. Rams are trash. We'll get into it in more detail, though. There's 5 players you need to even think about. I'm just kidding. I don't know what the number is, but it's probably something like that.
So the NFC West, Slim, is the only thing keeping you up at night, though? Baby's doing well?
Oh, yeah. No, baby's doing good. Yeah, thanks. No, that's all good there. Yeah, the odd diaper change in the middle of the night. That's pretty much the role I need to do. Or just waking up to pretend that I'm willing to help with something, I guess, is the other thing. There's not much I can really help with.
Useless as tits on a, yeah.
You're awake. Oh, shit. Have you been up long? You need me to take? Oh, no, you don't. Okay, well, I'm just going to go back to bed. See. That's kind of my routine.
Kind of how it goes. All right, and so from a guy with a newborn to a guy who's probably laying up at night wondering what is he going to do on the golf trip without me. Blister, how's it going tonight?
Good, man. Yeah, we actually got in around the golf there Thursday. You missed out, Bucks, but it was pretty fun. And then I got in some fishing this weekend, although the weather was terrible. Celebrated Canada's 150th out in the boat, and had a good fish fry yesterday, and got a few here today too. So it was a good weekend. Yeah.
Not me. I've just been running family at the house. It's been I had to back out of golf Thursday, and we watched the fireworks at the end of the driveway last night and a little bit of rain, but the fireworks are pretty good for Little Fort Fantastic last night.
Nice.
They really cranked it up for 150. But did you watch it, Slim?
Yeah, we were at home, and I could see it off of my deck. So I kind of went out. The mosquitoes were pretty bad. So then I went inside and opened another beer and just looked out the kitchen window and watched the rest. But it was pretty intense, actually, for like you said.
Yeah, it was pretty good. They did a good job.
Small little Fort Friday.
All right. So speaking of open up a beer, I actually wasn't planning it on now, but you said that. We'll get to the NFC West because we're going to need one.
Before we get there, hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
Did anybody see tweet that picture of himself at Ottawa for?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I was going to tweet back. When did Minnow not have a chin?
Ooh, low blow.
I can't say anything. So I thought that too, but I was like, I can't say anything.
I was laughing. Who was that? Minnow? Did he just swallow the whole pitcher instead of drinking it?
Low blow. All right, speaking of low blows, let's get rolling to the NFC West, guys. If you guys are ready, then I'm ready. Let's cock the hammer. It's time for action. All right, so like I said, we're going to break down the NFC West. We're going to do this short and sweet. Let's start with the Cardinals. Mr. Blister, why don't we fire you a little bit of Cardinals here? Talk about what you see going forward with the Cardinals into 2017.
Well, not much after David Johnson. We got, damn, I thought you were going to start with Slim. But you know what?
Sorry, man. Sorry.
Look, that's okay. I agree. Slim had a nice breakdown of the Cardinals on the website there, and can't agree more. I mean, I really think John Brown could bounce back this year because there's not a lot of options. I mean, Michael Floyd, he was there last year for most of the year, and now he's gone, but they really didn't add anybody. Chad Williams is a receiver they added, but I'm not sure if he's going to be making an impact this year or if it'll be down the road. So after Larry Fitzgerald, who's aging quite a bit, John Brown could get a lot more looks and really have a bounce back season. They don't really use a tight end there in Arizona, so I really wouldn't waste any money on the tight end in the auction, and David Johnson could be the best player in fantasy football again next year, so he could be the most expensive. So I really think this year the running back is going to kind of have a bounce back in a sense. The stud running back, I think last year the focus really had shifted to receiver, and there's a few running backs that went for big dollars, but I think that receivers, there was a lot of big name receivers last year who disappointed, so I really think people are going to pour money into get one of these stud running backs, and you can't get much better than David Johnson. So I think quite easily he's probably going to run you a minimum $65 in your auction drafts. And like I said, I did do a couple mocks, but it was just a bunch of robots myself, so yeah. I really don't even think that data is relevant to repeat. But he's going to be your most expensive, and after that I think you can get anybody else quite cheap off this lineup if you really wanted anybody else. That's a big question mark.
So Slim, is it worth taking a look at Larry Fitz this year? I mean, he finished his high last year, and he perennially can, but is he going to be worth the money you're going to have to pay for him?
Yeah, I think he is. He's been a target, I feel like, the last couple of years for me, a guy that I've kind of beat the drum for, mainly I think because of his age. We just are so quick to write off these old guys. When you look at the numbers, he still produces. He had 108 receptions last year. He still had over 1,000 yards. I anticipate the offense kind of doing a lot of the same that they did. And like Blister said, there's not really that many other reliable wide receivers there. And he is one of the best. The age thing doesn't worry me so much. I look at him a lot like Jerry Rice, the kind of guy who I think takes phenomenal care by all reports of his body. Just as a freak, he's one of those guys I think he can defy age as long as he kind of wants to keep playing. He should be able to still put up numbers. And I think Carson Palmer is still going to be good enough to make him a pretty solid wide receiver option this year. So I would think, according to Fantasy Pros, right now he's wide receiver 22. Last year he was a wide receiver 9. I don't have the data from the year before, but I bet you it was somewhere close to that as well. So again, I think we're going to get a lot of that same type of value right now. I can't see him moving too much, especially with the wide receiver position being what it is and how deep it is. Guys like Larry Fitzgerald just aren't going to move ahead of a ton of guys right now.
Blister, Slim just brought up Carson Palmer. Is he a streamable quarterback for you this year?
You might be able to get a little bit of use out of him as a streamer. I wouldn't put a whole lot of hope in him being a starter for you. You're probably going to get him real cheap. He was cheap every year that we've had to draft, probably a $1 quarterback. But I think at best you might be able to stream him. Because like Slim mentioned, he's been knocked down a lot and he's getting older every day, so I think his body's going to have a hard time holding up. So if you can find the right matchup for them in a good schedule spot, you might want to go for him. But I wouldn't be playing him every week.
Well, okay, so we know what's happening in Arizona. Slim, let's just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Let's go straight to the Niners. Talk to us about the Niners heading into 2017.
Yeah, I mean, I still think there's not a lot of talent there overall. There's not a lot to be excited about. I mean, you get this Kyle Shanahan coaching narrative, which we've seen before with other coaches. You come from a prolific offense. You get this new coaching gig, and you're expected to turn things around in one season, which to me is stupid because Kyle Shanahan isn't just going to make these guys magically good at football. It takes good players. I mean, we just left Atlanta. They had Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman, Matt Ryan was the quarterback, Tevin Coleman. Like, there's talent there. There's a reason why that offense could click. So I don't think the Niners are there yet. To me, there's only 2 guys you even want to consider unless you're in some crazy deep draft. They're Carlos Hyde and Pierre Garçon.
That's it. So, Blister, I just saw, actually, I downloaded because I thought I was going to have to cut the grass today, and then, we taught the kid how to do it, so I didn't get to cut the grass. I looked at my wife and said, when am I going to listen to the podcast anymore if I can't cut the grass, if the kid's going to be cutting the grass? Jesus. Anyways, there was a RotoViz pod, I think, that mentioned that Pierre Garçon might be the number one targeted receiver in the league this year. Thoughts?
Everything I've listened to is hyping up Pierre Garçon. And you know what? Like Slim makes mention in the article that they want to gain the trust of the fan base, so they're probably going to have to throw it a bunch and try to stay in games and not get blown out. But on the flip side, too, is if they are trailing, they're going to have to throw the ball again also. So there's every reason to think that he is going to be heavily targeted. And I really can't imagine him going for more than $15 probably in an auction, but he could. But I still don't think he's going to cost you anywhere near potentially your top 10 wide receivers. So I think he could be good value and could be in a great spot there. And I think if you're going to target anybody, that'd probably be my number one target in San Fran. And then after that, like Slim mentioned, Carlos Hyde is another one that, the jury is out. One expert out there will tell you Carlos Hyde's still the man. The next one will tell you that, because they went hard after Joe Williams, that he's going to be the man. But those rookie players all the time, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in them. I don't see why Carlos Hyde wouldn't still get the number one chance and the first opportunity to produce. And I just think that because of the gray area or the question mark that surrounds Carlos Hyde and Joe Williams with his presence, I think you're probably going to get good value there as well with Carlos Hyde. So I think that, it wasn't that long ago that he was a big hype when he went there. And I still think that he's got something to show and something to prove. And I think you're going to get him for a reduced rate from last year.
So, Slim, as the insider with the Niners, is there anyone you're sleeping on that you're willing to save a couple bucks for at the end of your auction? Is it Ellington? Are you going to maybe hold on for a little Hoyer action? What are you looking for at the end of your draft with this team?
Yeah, I'll probably pass on Hoyer unless you're in a super flex league or something like that. I actually found this tough to find some kind of late kind of breakout. I really did. There was a handful of teams that I found. This was one of them. To me, Bruce Ellington, I guess, makes the most sense. It's a pretty cloudy receiving core right now. But to me, just his skill set gives him the fast track to an actual position. I mean, we know Pierre Garçon will be a starter. What they do on the other side across from him is still maybe a bit of a question mark, whether it's Goodwin or something like that. We don't know yet. But to me, Bruce Ellington kind of fits the bill as a slot receiver in that offense. So it remains to be seen, I guess, how much Hoyer is willing to target a guy like Bruce Ellington. He's had injuries in the past, but if I had to throw a dart at somebody like that on that passing offense and Pierre Garçon wasn't there, I think I'd probably push all my chips kind of toward a guy like him who I think projects to at least have a starting role or something very close to that right out of the gate.
There you go. So there's your inside little scoop on the Niners. Lister, let's move on throughout the NFC West, move up the coast to Seattle. Talk to us what you see heading forward with the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, I think that, I guess, again, the backfield here in Seattle is going to be an interesting puzzle to put together. They brought in Eddie Lacy, and Eddie Lacy he should get a pretty good
He'll chew up a few yards.
Chew up a few yards, yeah. I think Russell Wilson is going to be a solid play. Obviously, starting at quarterback, if we talk there. Dougie Baldwin will be a real solid wide receiver. Again, he's going to put up some great numbers for you, and he doesn't necessarily cost as much as a lot of other receivers. So if you do spend heavy on running back and you want to still get a number one receiver for a team, I think Dougie Baldwin is a guy you would probably want to target. But I started off, I'm all over the map, sorry. I thought you were going to go to LA next, but you went to Seattle. Eddie Lacy and Thomas Rawls is still there, and a lot of people figured this is either the CJ Procise, at least in PPR, makes a step forward. I think it's going to be one of those backfields that you might just want to avoid, because who knows who's going to, you spend money, you hate to spend a whole bunch of money on a running back and only find out like he's in a committee, or Eddie Lacy, he's can't, by week 4 he's ineffective and they move on from him. And they still got Alex Collins there too, and they drafted him the same year as Procise last year. And yeah, I think Thomas Rawls has much to offer still. He was banged up, but what worries me about Rawls is they brought him in as an undrafted free agent 2 years ago, I think it is now, and they obviously don't have a lot of commitment to somebody like that. You're going to have to play well to stay on there when you have a couple guys that they drafted the following year behind you. So, I don't know. The Seahawks should be a good team, but they might not be great for your fantasy because you don't know. There's a lot of different weapons they have between receivers, tight ends, and running backs that they could just spread the ball around enough that maybe the only one that does really benefit is Russell Wilson. It's hard to really, nail down a for sure contributor with the amount of guys they have there.
So, Slim, when you were looking at the Seahawks, any interest with Jimmy Graham? Are we throwing out the bathwater with Tyler Lockett? What's happening?
Well, Jimmy Graham, unfortunately, I couldn't find a place to fit him into the article because we tried. If anybody who's subscribed sees the format, we only really talk about 4 different players, and I had a hard time putting him in as a stud in the stud category based on other players on that team. But I like Jimmy Graham this year. I think he's in for a pretty big year. But yeah, I didn't get a chance to talk about him much in the article. To me, Tyler Lockett's the one guy I really want to fade, other than maybe some of the cheap, very, very cheap guys like Jermaine Kearse and things like that. But I just think that Lockett, he's going to have to fight off a guy like Paul Richardson potentially, who's got draft capital that Seattle is probably going to want to see what they have. They spent a 2nd-round pick on him a couple of years ago. He missed pretty much a whole season because he had a knee injury. So he's just kind of getting back to form. I think they're going to want to see what he can do in that offense. And I think we just got a little overexcited last year on Tyler Lockett, and I'll blame Matt Harmon a little bit for that. He kind of was beating the drum, leading this charge that Tyler Lockett was going to be this massive breakout. And I think everyone got a little excited because the previous year he kind of was touting Allen Robinson really hard, and Robinson broke out. And people put a lot of stock then into this Tyler Lockett prediction because, he just nailed Allen Robinson the year before in a huge way. He's got to be right about him. And, Matt Harmon knows his stuff with wide receivers. He's built a pretty strong career on projecting wide receiver stuff. So I think that led to a lot of owners being disappointed. I know I took him in in a keeper league. I had him. But yeah, I have a trouble seeing there being enough volume for me to find him as a consistent starter, probably at the price he might end up being as well. I just think wherever he's going in your draft, I can probably look and find a handful of players that I think just have more upside, no matter where he's going, whether it's $10, $5. That's me personally. So I just think he's a guy you want to let someone else pay for.
All right, so speaking of upside, Slim, I'm just going to let you keep rolling here into the Rams. Is there any upside with owning anybody in L.A.? Is Todd Gurley the only guy that's even worth taking a look at here?
Yeah, I'd even argue that depending on where you have to buy Gurley at, you might not be even excited about owning him. I think what we might end up seeing, we've started to see his price come down a little bit. I've seen ranks, and I think I don't have mine. I know when I was setting up my running back ranks, I toyed with even having him as an RB1. And I would say I'm probably lower on him than most. That being said, if I could get him as, say, an RB13 price or something like that, I would have a harder time not pulling the trigger because I just think there's going to be a lot of volume there. What he can do with it or what that team allows him to do with it, I don't know. But I want a guy that is going to get 250 touches, 300 touches, and that could happen with a guy like him. So if his price keeps falling, I think that he becomes a pretty strong buy. To me, he's definitely the most talented person on that offense. But unfortunately, he's surrounded by a lot of hot garbage.
Blister, are you excited about Robert Woods heading over to the Rams?
You know, I'm not that excited about it. Like there's not a lot in LA to be excited about in the passing game. There's a couple rookies that they drafted, you know, to.
Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, I think I drafted him. But, you know, maybe someday he's better, but I don't really have a lot of faith in them. But, you know, I guess in that sense, Robert Woods is a veteran presence that, you know, maybe they have to lean on. But on the flip side, Robert Woods last year, you know, was a 66th ranked receiver in Buffalo, and he played only 13 games. But, I mean, he had a lot of opportunity to be the number one there when Sammy Watkins was banged up. Yeah, I have his autograph. I was supposed to be good this year. I was supposed to be so exciting, but he wasn't. So, and Robert Woods, when Sammy was down and out, Robert Woods really didn't jump up and do anything exciting. He ended up with 118 fantasy points last year, 9 points per game. So even if you give him 27 more points, he's still going to be only like the 53rd or 52nd ranked wide receiver. So, you know, that's not even a startable wide receiver. And now he goes to Jared Goff, who has done nothing and didn't look great. And, you know, they got, I don't know. I just can't see him doing a whole lot unless they, you know, stack the box just to stop Gurley and leave every wide receiver uncovered. Probably not going to happen that much, but
10 men in the box.
Yeah, you know what? So I don't know. I don't have a lot of confidence in him or a lot of faith. I'd rather just let somebody else buy him in the auction.
There you go. Perfect. Speaking of, I don't even know. I was trying to transition there. I lost it. Anyways, anything else you guys want to bring up about the NFC West, or should we just wrap this baby up with a little bow?
We can wrap it up. David Johnson.
Not with a bow, though, eh?
David Johnson, Pierre Garçon, and then that, Russell Wilson, and then Dougie Baldwin, and then Jimmy, and maybe Carlos. You never know.
Larry Fitz. Okay. Yeah. We got some guys in there anyways. All right.
There's a few, but not a lot. Yeah.
All right. So we do have this broken down in the membership area of the website. So you head on over to the website, thefantasyfootballauction.com. Click on the members area. You can have a look there at what we have to offer for the $14.95 membership. We've got that up and running now. Right now we have a couple articles rolling. We've got the division breakdowns going, and as we move forward here, it's going to be the 300 plus players that we have in our auction ranks and our average auction values, and all those things are going to be in the membership area. So head on over to thefantasyfootballauction.com and check that out. Follow us on Twitter. We're at Fantasy Auction, and we're going to keep rolling with some more division breakdowns. Anything else to add, boys?
No.
I need another beer.
All right, that was short and sweet. All right, so Slim, you go grab yourself another beer, and Blister, you just hold on tight. Everybody else, I'll see you when it's springtime in the Rockies.